Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a very brief, very concise breakdown of the NBA Finals. We have the Spurs and the Knicks both vying for the title. I'm Jess of Spicy Gemini Memes and Spicy Gemini Astrology, and I am here today with
Trevor,
Trevor, the Aquarian. He is obsessed with all things sports.
love basketball. Basketball's my favorite.
And so we have a couple of things to discuss. I from the astrological viewpoint, and him from the actual knowledge of the sport. So before
Couch knowledge, couch knowledge.
True, but deep, relatively deep knowledge. Before we get into it, I am Jess, as mentioned. I love all pop culture topics, so whatever is being discussed, I am interested in. I have been predicting NFL football games for the past 3 seasons. I am part of Gridiron Astrology with Dorje Kirsten of Heart Astrology, and I have pretty good accuracy. So last season I was at 82% accurate with 36 games delineated. I accurately predicted the Super Bowl. I accurately predicted the college game, the championship game. I don't have that much practice with the NBA. And like on a whim, I was like, I'm going to predict game one. And it was very obviously the Knicks winning, as you can see here with the enthusiasm. Also, I'm in the Eastern time zone. So this was 20 minutes before the game started. But yeah, I figured why not play a little bit. Now, before we get into games two, three, and four, I wouldn't bet on my predictions. You might, I mean, Trevor, I can't speak for your predictions.
I'm
You,
excited though. Knicks, baby.
okay, so we know where he stands. I will not be putting any money down. This is for entertainment purposes. But I do want to pick apart the next few games. So as this is being uploaded, we are just about ready to start game two. And here we have the Knicks at the Spurs again. We are around the same starting time. We know that it's at least 7:30 Central Time. It might be a few minutes after. That's enough for me to get a handle on this chart. Now, do you want to tell a little bit about what you think before I delve into it, or do you just want me to give a
You go for
brief
it.
breakdown?
You go
Okay.
for it. Yeah.
So, looking at this chart, basically what we want to know is how is the home team doing? How is the away team doing? The home team is here. The away team is here. You don't need to know about astrology to know what I'm about to say. The home team has instability. So the Spurs have some type of internal instability. There's pressure that I think is being put on Wemby that is great and fine and good because he's going to be the next great. He already is on his way there. I think it's too much. The away team is in better shape because there are two planets in astrology that are very positive, very good. We want them to be impacting us if we are, playing sports or if there is some sort of team dynamic. We want the support from these planets, and the away team, in this case the Knicks, are supported by both Venus and Jupiter. Happiest planets, most benefic planets. They bring good luck. They bring some type of goodness. Obviously, it's not that simple when we get into deeper delineation, but the Knicks have luck on their side. They had for the last game, they have it for this game as well. Now, a caveat is as we progress through the game, quarters, there's four quarters,
Yeah.
yes? Quarters two and three, these planets, these lucky planets, start to sink into the seventh house. That's the Spurs house. That's the home team. Okay. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it is another game where the Spurs are in it. They are very active. They may have the upper hand for a good bit of time, but the end outcome, in my opinion, is very much in this direction of support for the away team. And so I'm kind of seeing the Knicks again here, and I feel like that's controversial to even say, but that seems to be the energy. What do you think, Trevor?
The, if the Spurs lose this game, series is done.
You really think so?
Yes.
Okay.
So I want the Knicks to win, but I think the Spurs know how important this game is.
Okay.
So I think it's gonna go down to the wire
Okay.
either way. But it's to be honest with you, the Spurs could come out throwing haymakers to the best of their ability. So if the Spurs could run away with it, it's just if the Knicks win this game, it's very unlikely that the Spurs are coming back in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So pressure's on big time for the Spurs. But everybody on the Spurs that's important on their roster is 25 years or younger. Like they're all very inexperienced in the
Okay.
NBA. So it's just it's a lot of pressure. They're playing in the finals
Yeah.
as I think Wemby's 22,
21, isn't he?
maybe 21,
I
yeah.
don't know. We have his birth chart in a
But
couple sides.
and they're playing against a team, the Knicks, that have three of their five starters all played in college together. And then they went
So
to
like
the
a dream
pros.
team situation.
They've been playing together for decade, like
Yeah,
long
yeah.
time. So it's just they want to win, and you can tell how they're playing right now. They're on like a 12-game win streak in the playoffs, which is unheard of. So it's just, can the Knicks keep it up, or are
Yeah.
the Spurs going to slow them down a little bit in the second game? But I think the Knicks are going to win.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're moving on to game three. Now we have a switch them up because we are in New York, right? So the away team now, this is the Spurs, and the home team now, we have obviously the Knicks. Now, what you'll notice is there's the same symbols on both of these axes. And what I have changed here is I'm trying to assess what the more subtle influence is because we have a different rising sign degree. And again, as long as we're starting no earlier than 8:30, then this is pretty reliable. There is some type of strain that the Spurs are navigating. And again, I did pull Wemby's chart. I did not pull anyone else's chart on the Spurs, nor did I pull the coach's chart. But Wemby is under pressure. It is coming up through transits. This is great for the Spurs, right? Because we want those two happy, good planets, Venus and Jupiter, to be influencing any team we're on because that's our good luck. Okay. And we also have Mercury here. It's a little bit of a wider conjunction. Mercury is speed. This is how we are passing the ball. This is how we're moving across the court. Okay. So they're looking good. I could see the Spurs winning game three, to be honest with you. But there is that signature of strain because there's activation of Saturn. Now, here we have the home team, the Knicks. They are experiencing their ruler, their planetary association is this Mercury. Okay. And this Mercury is experiencing pressure from Saturn. Saturn is delays, stops, discouragement. There could be an injury in this game, like a notable injury, or somebody may be a little bit run down, and so they are performing less up to, standard for what they would typically be doing. I'm kind of seeing the Spurs the more I look at this chart. Let's just see. So the moon is here. Yeah, the Spurs are getting the second wind. And we are not going to look at games 5 through 7,
Yeah.
but if the Knicks drop the ball by game 4, the Spurs have the upper hand. So, what do you think now that they're shifting back toward New York?
There's going to be so much energy in that stadium.
Okay.
The Knicks have not played in the finals since 1999. They haven't won a championship since 76, I think.
Mhm.
Maybe it's 76. I don't know. But in the 70s was the last time they won a championship. And the whole playoffs, New York has been ecstatic to be watching this Knicks team. I don't think that the Knicks are going to lose the game at home.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, honestly. Another way that I look at this chart, which is less reliable, and again, this is what I normally do for football. So different standards, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to track one to one. But planets beneath the horizon, that's the home team. Planets above the horizon, that's the away team. So the away team has the support of both of the benefics, both of the lucky planets, but we have the luminary of sect, which means the major light in the sky that is informing that part of day, which is nighttime. So the moon, that is in the court for the Knicks, which, and we see this is in the third house. I mean fourth house whole sign too. Great turnout, obviously, for the Knicks. Like, that's not even a question, but I just think that that may be a source of where they are getting the energy, where they are getting the support. I do like the sun on the descendant as well for the Knicks. They have a lot of energy. It's almost as though if there is somebody who is playing like less up to speed or like not doing exactly how they should be, there are other people who are able to cover for him like pretty effectively. This is just, I think the Knicks are a little bit tired. There's something a little bit off kilter with the Knicks. So I'm kind of seeing game three as the Spurs.
okay.
Now, game four. Game four, we have the similar signature, right? So here again, not much changes. How many days are we apart? 2 days. You're not going to see that much of a change. Let's see. The descendant. Okay, now we have the exact square between Mercury, which is associated with the Knicks, and Saturn, which is delays, disappointments. Again, that's not an outright failure. We just have some other, like, there's additional factors that seem to be informing how this team is moving. I hope Brunson's fine. I didn't see anything in his chart that indicates major injury or anything like that.
He's an Iron Man. He's
Yeah,
gonna be
I think he's fine. What is the moon doing? Moon conjoining Aries, squaring. Oh, okay, okay, okay. So the away team still ruled by this beautiful, happy, lucky planet, Jupiter. Great, we love it. But now we do have the night chart, so Jupiter is a little bit less effective. It's still great, it's still fine, it's still good, but the nighttime, we really see the luck coming from Venus, but there's still that conversation. Anyway, details we don't need to really discuss, but there is a square from the transiting moon to this Jupiter, and the moon and a game chart, football especially, that's like what we need to know that day. And so, like, if we're looking at somebody's chart and we see the moon activating their Mars or their sun or their ascendant, they're going to probably have a really good game. But if there's tension with the moon and some of the planets, then that can also be a stopping factor. So this is a cutthroat game.
Yep.
Obviously, but this is a cutthroat game. I do think the Knicks are tired. I think that there's a little bit more luck on the Spurs side, like they're in a tempo. And also, they are relying too much on one person. Moon in the sign of Aries. Aries is the planet of the self. I just think it's too much for Wemby.
Yep.
And I don't think that that's a forever thing, but I do think that it's a lot. Does that mean he's going to fail? Not necessarily, but I do think that there are background sort of emotional and cognitive narratives that are informing how they are moving. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Wemby has the opportunity to be the best player of all time. That's how talented he is. That's how good he is at basketball.
Yep.
He is a 21-year-old kid right now.
Yeah.
It is him being proclaimed as the best player in the league and the best player in the world right now is a lot for one guy to handle.
Yeah.
I just
Agreed.
think about what I was doing at 21. You know, like he's a kid. He's a
Yeah.
kid. So it's just the Knicks they've played 12 games in the last, I think it was 31 days or something like that. Like they've got their rest. They've swept the last two rounds, so they had time off in between each round of the playoffs.
Okay.
They just had another pretty much a week off since playing their last round game and the first game that they played on Wednesday.
Hmm.
But yeah, the Knicks are well rested. They've been playing together for a decade plus, all grown men playing up against kids that are 20, 21, 22 years old.
Hmm.
Those are the three best players on their team, and they're 20, 21, and 22 years old. So
Yeah.
it's like
So like they will have an
different level.
empire.
Oh yeah, the Spurs.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah, there's a trope going on right now that if the Spurs win this year, it's over for everybody forever because
But
they've
that's what
got
we thought about OKC.
yep,
So
yep.
we
They've
can't get
just
too ahead of ourselves.
no, they've just the Spurs have such a bright future,
Yeah.
and if the Knicks want to win a title, they need to do it now because the Western Conference is going to be hogging it for a
Unstoppable.
while. Yeah. It'll,
Unstoppable.
yeah.
So next we have the Knicks. The inner wheel here is the Knicks. That's when they were established, June 6th, 1946. The outer wheel is this game four. The Knicks and the Spurs are both hard to find with regards to their establishment chart. This is their birth chart, major transits. Oh, the sun right on their north node? Okay. Anyway, when we look at the birth chart, we want to know what the transits in real time are doing to the birth chart because that informs us with regards to what are likely outcomes. It was hard to find a solid chart for the Spurs, so I just went with their original established chart, which was when they were still in Dallas, different team name, but there were just two. There was like four charts I could have gone from. The Knicks, they're a little bit more established. We're pretty confident it was June 6th, 1946. Happy almost birthday. Like tomorrow is their 80th birthday, right? 80?
Happy
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. With that in mind, I just want to see if anything outstanding is happening in this space because that can give us some insight into if something major is happening for them. And the reason I screamed at the top of my lungs is because the sun is conjoining their north node. There's a lot of different ways you can look at the north node, but I tend to find that it is corresponding to like fated events. And so when a positive planet or a luminary, like the sun especially, conjoins the north node, it's like, here we go. Like elevating you to a narrative that was kind of unavoidable. The sun conjoins the North Node one time every year, so it's a big deal for them. On top of that, we see Saturn and Venus both in the sign of Cancer, and they're getting this pile up with Mercury and those two happy planets, Jupiter and Venus, around both of these signatures. I kind of think that they have a Libra rising chart, which would have been like early afternoon establishment of the Knicks, which makes sense. It seems like a lot of these meetings were around lunchtime, specifically because some of the minutes I found were like, and then they had lunch. So anyway, I think this is a big deal for them. I kind of wanted to see more activation with the moon because that tends to correspond with them actually winning. Though I will say, when they won their first game, like championship game, in 1970, the North Node was in the sign of Pisces, and obviously the South Node was in the sign of Virgo. And so that seems to be a significant signature for them. Mind you, the North Node's only in Pisces once every 18 and a half years, so it is pretty significant. With that in mind, I am seeing them as like hard work is paying off. The camaraderie that they've built, which actually makes sense with these teammates being like really close, the camaraderie that they've built is also giving some type of yield. And then finally, the sun conjoining the North Node. For me, this suggests, again, elevating toward a faded type of moment. I think that if they lose the series, I don't think we can write them off for the next couple of years. I think
Knicks.
that they are going to be, determined and ready to get after it again.
Good.
But I think this looks very favorable for them. Specifically, the Sun North Node conjunction didn't register that at all. Like that, I didn't come in here thinking like, oh, we have to talk about that. You saw my real like surprise when I saw that. Is there anything you want to say about the Knicks as a team?
I'm excited for them. I'm excited for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal. They have a really good team. They just got a new coach this year
Yep.
who's been coaching for years in the NBA, but just it feels like everything is in alignment for them right now. The
Mhm.
tear that they're on in the playoffs is historic. Their their current point differential in the NBA playoffs is the highest it's ever been in NBA history. So
Mhm.
just the heater that they are currently on has not been seen before
Yeah.
in NBA history. So it's fun to watch. And
And I can talk to you about that. So Jupiter is around their Saturn. Their Saturn's not in good shape at all. But this is the like when they dig deep, this is what comes forth. And the planets of luck are being like, good, keep doing that, keep doing more of that. Jupiter's only in the sign of Cancer once every 12 years. So every dozen years, we have this signature. It's like very much like stars aligning for the Knicks right now.
I love that.
And their stability, their steadfastness, it's coming from this moon in the sign of Virgo. And what that is suggesting is they are, when they are aligned, there's sort of like a very systemic flow in terms of like they are mentally attuned with each other, and then they're able to like fine tune their mechanics in such a way that it like looks like artistry because of the Venus conjunction as well.
Mhm.
But it's hard for them as a team to get into that flow, and at this juncture with this team, because they are such a tight unit,
They're
it's
there.
happening.
Good.
It's happening and it's happening well.
You can see everybody's cutting when they're supposed to.
Hmm.
Everybody's rebounding. Like Jalen Brunson's playing out of his mind. It's just you can tell if you watch a game, everybody's on the same page. Everybody's on the same page.
The last factor that I want to say here is Mars is the planet of sports. It is the planet associated with football. I was on the fence a little bit about basketball because I think Mercury is a little bit more of this in terms of speed, agility, things like that. Mars is the brute force, but Mars is positively aspecting their moon, which is sort of the core of their day-to-day flow. And that means their athleticism is peak. And so, yes, I do see some tiredness in games 3 and 4 from them, but I think that there is a lot of really auspicious signatures in terms of how they are directly impacted. Next, we have the Spurs, and I had to find like the Fiesta colors because I just needed something other than the gray. So, as mentioned, this is kind of hard to calculate. I picked their first chart when they were initially established in Dallas, Texas on February 2nd, 1967. This is fresh eyes for me. Oh, we do see the North Node is conjoining their Venus pretty closely. Let's see what else we have going on. Mars is close to their North Node as well, but this is something that's been building and it's now intensifying slightly less. We have a Jupiter return moment. As I mentioned, Jupiter is luck, good opportunities, positive opportunities, happens once every 12 years. If they don't win this, their harvest is immaculate to begin with. Like they really don't need to worry whatsoever. I think if anything, this series shows the managerial team, the coaching team, exactly what they need to do in order to become an unstoppable force. That's kind of how that's reading for me. Um, I don't know if this is truly their chart because there are some signatures. They're very much a winning organization. Is that correct? There are some signatures in this event chart where it's like, well, well, I don't know. I don't know about the winningness here. But nonetheless, it's what we have. And I do think that there are markers here, specifically the Jupiter return, North Node on Venus, where they are getting elevated, again, elevated with the North Node based on the sort of out of the norm, like a standard deviation above what we would expect for a team. It's just like, whoa, like whatever they are really good at, they are exceptional.
Hmm.
And I think that that is being strongly celebrated at this juncture. And this could also manifest as, the positive conversation, the positive traction that they're getting. I think that this is kind of the start of a run for them, for sure. Yeah, it's going to continue. If they don't win this year, they might win next. But they will start hitting eclipses, so that's a little bit unstable. But they are at a juncture where things are really generally working in their favor. Um, I will say pretty comparable to the positive activation that we are seeing for the Knicks, with the caveat that Mars, this planet of sports, is opposing their moon. That's a challenging aspect. That feels like we have the fire, we have the fuel, we have the stamina, we have all of these pieces, but there's a vague disjointedness. And it's not something where it's like derailing, but it may just be like their tempos are slightly less synchronistic than it would typically be. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, that's what I think. Tell me what you think about these Spurs.
If you, the Spurs are a year ahead of schedule, is what a lot of people are talking about with this.
Yeah.
They are, last year they won, I think, 30 games, 33 games, something
Okay.
like that. So they were not a playoff team or a contender or anything like that. And everybody got a year older, and so they got a year better. But
Yep.
nobody picked these Spurs to be in the finals this year. Like they comparing what the Spurs are, their build up compared to what the Knicks are in their build up,
Hmm.
just the understanding of the game, the camaraderie, the like just how long everybody's been playing together. Um, the Knicks are a well-oiled machine and the Spurs are figuring it out so they can become a well-oiled machine.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you give
That
them a
okay.
year, give the Spurs a year, everybody gets a year better, everybody gets a year of knowing how each other plays. It's just going to be the Spurs are did an incredible job on getting to the finals this year, and of course they can win it. It just feels like it's a little bit ahead of schedule. So
That makes
yeah,
sense. That makes sense. If this is a noon chart, meaning it was established around noontime, and I always kind of think of, 9 a.m. maybe, lunch maybe, usually not close of day, but whatever. The ascendant would be this Venus. This does make sense because they're having like a major glow up with regards to the team
yeah.
and like the functionality of the team. And again, the North Node, which is this little upside down horseshoe, doesn't function just necessarily in a positive direction. There are some astrologers who sort of hate the nodes and see them as very inherently negative. I have found that by transit, the North Node tends to bring goodness, but all of that to say, this really does map on to like, oh, things are working out for them
Mhm.
really well, like really, really well. Curious what their Jupiter return looks like.
Yeah. Historically, the Spurs, their just their team building ability
Hmm.
is top notch of the league. Like they had five championships between the 90s and the 2000s, and then now it's looking like they're going to go on another run just like that,
Rebuilding again.
just from drafting the right people, from
Yep.
keeping the right coaches, from building the roster the right way. And that's kind of their MO is just they're a good organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So now we have Wemby. We actually have his A-rated birth time. So this is his chart. This is his chart. Love it. Excited about it. The outer wheel is game four. Another like sort of, I don't know, stopping factor for me really delving into the NBA is there are 7 games in a series. That's a lot of games. Not too much change across the 7 games, but like, which one is most important? We're going with the fourth across most of these charts because that's maybe the last game, question mark. With that in mind, what I keep feeling time and time again is he has a lot of pressure on him, and he does. And we can see that here with Saturn, delays, restrictions, disappointments, barriers, conjoining Mars, which is his athleticism. His Mars is sturdy, which we know because he is absolutely gifted every which way with what he is bringing at the athletic level. He's outstanding. And also, he is at a tense point in his career. I don't think that this is an issue for his physicality. Like, I don't think he's at risk for injury. But what I want you to notice is here Saturn delays, restrictions, disappointment, barriers is forming a negative, challenging aspect with his own Saturn, which is his responsibility, steadfastness, as well as areas where he may struggle. And there's a very close square with his sun, which is his ego, his identity, how he's facing the world. So Saturn is at odds with these pieces of himself. I think he's being very hard on himself behind the scenes. I think he feels like he needs to prove himself today. He doesn't. Once we get a year and a half from now, he'll be back in his stride, in my opinion, in terms of really knowing who he is and having the athleticism and just getting to that point of maturation where it does not feel quite so tense. I think that this Saturn activation here, the next time this is going to happen is like seven, 7.5 years from now. Like it's a rare configuration for him. The fact that it's very close in degree is even more notable. And I think it's something that is very loud. At the same time, we see Mars conjoining his North Node in the 12th house, North Node in the 12th house, Destiny in international countries, which we already see. He's in the States. But Mars here, let me just check. Venus, where's his Venus? I think that there is felt pressure on his performance. And I don't know if internally he's seeing this as like a turning point of like, okay, it's time for me to sort of take the mantle on of being the best or not. But it feels very like keeping him up at night type of thing. Again, I don't know if that's the case. Hopefully his mental game is exactly where it needs to be. But this man is under stress. In terms of longer term injury, I'm concerned, I would say 4 years from now, approximately, when Uranus conjoins his ascendant, that's shifts associated with the physical body. So again, this does not read to me as any type of injury. This feels very internally like I need to do all of the things. I am the one everyone is counting on. An entire, team is investing in me. All of these people are investing in me. What if I let them down? What if I let them down? What if I let them down? And I do think that there are other factors that are offsetting this. We see the sun in his first house, which is like, check me out, actually. So like there is a feeling of being more attuned with his physical body, with his tempo. There is a strong confidence as well. I'm not saying that he's just ruminating and worried, but this man is a perfectionist. He wants to be the very best. He's going to be the very best. He is the very best. And also, there is a need to stay attuned to and be in touch with, where he may be at risk of running himself ragged or burning out a little bit. What do you think, Trev?
Wendy's just an alien. He's incredible. It's like he was built to play basketball in a lab. Like that's just what
I love that for him.
he's
That's
seven
so cool.
six, 7'7", can dribble the ball like a guard.
Hmm.
Like there's nothing he can't do. There's nothing he can't do. He's already the best defender in NBA history to some people. Like I mean, arguably, but he's incredible. Um, he's missed a lot of time last year due to injury,
That's what
and
I'm worried about.
he can't. Yeah, I think he had a blood clot last year was the issue. He
Okay.
missed a couple months due to a blood clot.
I don't like that.
So just he's been in the league for 3 years and he's only played, probably two full seasons out of those three. So just he's incredible. He's ahead of schedule. He's dominating, and I think that the Western Conference Finals was against like his arch nemesis.
Yeah.
He does not like Chet Holmgren at all, and he
Okay.
beat them and he beat them in 7 games.
Wow.
So I feel like there's just a little bit of a drop off with them playing the Knicks, just because they've played the Thunder 6 times this year or something like that already, plus the seven that just played them last week. They don't know that much about the Knicks, and Victor's kind of figuring it out on how to
Mhm.
play a different team. And he's definitely doing what he needs to do. He's spending a lot of time with Hall of Famers, training, getting trained up and stuff like that. He spent a couple months in a monastery over the summer. Like,
Okay.
I
So
mean,
he is working on his
he's
mental
taking
game.
like he's making sure that he's in
Good.
good shape,
Good.
But he's mm, he's just 22. He's just 22.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah.
I want to see him succeed very badly,
He's
and I think he will.
I think
Like, it's not a question.
he's going to. Yeah.
Then we have Brunson, a little bit older. So he's really in the thick of it. I know game one he was not performing in ways that we would expect. But what is outstanding here is we do not have his birth time. So the houses don't matter. We're not going to talk about the houses. We're using a noon chart. Remember those really good happy lucky planets that we talked about before? They are right on top of Brunson's Mars, which is his athleticism, and it's his Venus return. And there's a conjunction here, which indicates that there is that sort of the natural artistry he embodies in his craft is elevated. And there's also strong acknowledgement for the prowess he brings to his sport. And that's undeniable. This is like a lucky charm, basically, for him and his performance. I know there was a chance he was injured first game, and then he came back, and I don't think he even had his knee wrapped or anything. That's this. That's very much this. Jupiter is hanging around his Venus, it's hanging around his Mars, offering support, offering nourishment. This last fourth game is his lunar return, almost to the degree. Again, we don't know his exact birth time, but we do know that his moon is in the sign of Aries. And so here again, there's a sense of sort of returning to the self, returning to the internal tempo, and doing it with some level of finesse. This is his Saturn return story in part. I think that he's done with the primary story of his Saturn return currently, but what we see here is maturation related to how he is working with his internal authority. Is he the captain of the team? Has he been the captain of the team?
The last 4 or 5 years, yeah.
Okay, great. Is this a year in any way where he's showing out a little bit more in terms of what that role means?
He's they are here because of Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
He's carrying them. I mean, everybody's playing super well together. It's not just him, but he's the he's the main
Yeah.
he's the main guy. Yeah.
That certainly makes sense. He's stepping into the role of the Saturn. Saturn in Aries is the self. It's about harnessing the power of the self and kind of being a more individualistic leader. People want to defer to Saturn and Aries people because they have it together, even if internally they don't always feel that way. But after the Saturn return, that starts to really coalesce. And then probably by the time Saturn's in Gemini, that will develop even further. I would not be surprised if he was a coach in the future, to be honest with you. Is there anything else outstanding? South Node is close to his sun. Don't love that, but it's separated enough where I'm not concerned by it. This can be draining in terms of his energy, in terms of his vitality. Let's see, anything else? Not too much activation. Again, we don't unfortunately have his birth time, which could give us a little bit more of a constructive story. We're not seeing that much positive activation. We're also not seeing that same configuration of stress that we saw in Wemby's chart. Brunson will get that. Brunson will have that next year with the transiting Saturn activating squaring, I should say, his Venus and his Mars. Mars being again sport ball ability. But at the same time, it's not very loud. So we're not saying like, wow, this is a faded moment for Brunson. But there's some niceness here. There's a little luck charm situation going on with his already extraordinary athletic ability.
Mhm.
Is there anything you would like to add?
I'm just so happy for this guy. This guy, he took so much flack for going to the Knicks, and the Knicks took a lot of heat for signing
Where
him.
did he come from?
He was Luka Doncic's backup on the Mavericks,
Good for so
and
now he's okay. Good
now
for
he's the
him.
front, like he's the team leader
Good.
in New York.
How long ago did he make the switch?
I
A
want to say
while.
6 years,
Okay.
5 years,
Okay.
but like not super long ago, but he's been in New York for a while. And everybody thought that the Knicks made a terrible decision on signing this guy for the money that he sent, like
Hmm.
for the money that he got. And Jalen Brunson, either last year or 2 years ago, he took a big pay cut to to bolster the team. And that's when the rest of the Villanova guys came over. So
Yay!
it's him, his two college teammates, and he took another pay cut recently so they could sign a top five center in the league. So he's very unselfish.
He's living his North Node in
He's
Libra, which is it's hard for this generation because Chiron is there and Chiron makes us feel more vulnerable. But instead of him just being the star of the show, he was like, nope, I need support from my community, from the people that I love.
Yep.
And it's working for him. Go ahead. Sorry to cut
Yeah.
you off.
It's awesome to see. Like if you go and look up Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson videos, it's just two buddies having a good time. Like it's just fun. They're a fun team to watch. You
Yeah.
can tell that they all like each other. You can tell they all want to win, and it's just really fun basketball to watch right now coming from the Knicks. So yeah,
Love it.
he's the leader of it, so it's fun.
Good. Final verdict. I am predicting the Knicks with the caveat of if we start hitting game 5, 6, 7, Spurs start to get the upper hand.
So the Spurs
But
got to win tonight.
the Spurs have to win tonight.
They have to win tonight if you want to see 5, 6, and 7, because it's going to be super hard for them to win 2 games in New York.
I think, and again, I am more NFL. This is my first dive into this space. I wouldn't bet on it. I think that the Knicks will win tonight. I think that the Spurs will win game 3.
Okay.
And then I think that deciding game, I think it's in the Knicks' favor, but I don't know. And if we get past that,
Yeah.
then the Spurs are looking a little bit better. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. I offer astrological natal chart readings, transits. We can discuss your chart through the context of all of the transiting planets. I do predict NFL football games every fall. I intend to continue doing that. Absolutely love it. Also, sort of dabble with collegiate football. I would like to try basketball more this coming season. Will I? Who's to say? Maybe it depends on how good this whole run goes. But anyway, love talking all pop culture things. If there's anything you're interested in seeing, please let me know. Please hit the subscribe, like button, send comments, do all of the things, click all of the buttons. I'm grateful that you spent some time with us today, and let's go Knicks. See y'all later. Bye.